everyone, welcome to another episode of the RE Connect podcast, where I'm helping people navigate their 20s whilst also trying to figure out for myself. So in today's episode, we're going to be talking about something really important that really sets you apart, helps you build your foundations, and also creates opportunities for you, which is building a personal brand. So in today's society, everyone's always telling you to build a personal brand, but what actually is that and why is it important? So I'm going to be joined with Beth today, who is the founder of Orchid Marketing. She's a personal brand and marketing strategist, and today we'll just be diving into what a personal brand actually is and how you can make one for yourself. So hi Beth, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Yeah, so first question I'm going to be asking everyone that comes on this podcast is, what do you think is the most important, hard work or your connections and the people that you know?
Ooh, I think this is also really interesting in the context of personal branding. Yeah. I'm going to say hard work, because in some ways hard work speaks for itself.
Yeah, that's true.
And if you have that work ethic and that drive, that also, word gets around about that, and that helps you build those connections and those networks with people that might be able to, give you those opportunities that will again help show your hard work.
So just reinforces it essentially.
Exactly. Yeah.
Perfect. And now to go into the actual episode. So why do you think having a personal brand is important? Like, you mentioned your story when you first met about when you went to an event and what happened. So why do you think, from your experience, having a personal brand is important?
Well, another way of thinking about a personal brand is your reputation. And essentially, I think the easiest way to think about personal brand is simply just how someone would describe you. And that's why it's so important to be intentional about it. The biggest lesson that I've learned about building a personal brand and what I try to help other people see is you're building a personal brand whether you realise it or not.
That's so true. What you already post, people already build their own narrative of who they think you are. So instead of just being passive, create for yourself. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Would you say it's basically just showing off your personality, or are there rules to it?
I wouldn't say there are rules to it. The only things that I would say is, in order for it to be intentional and strategic, you have to think about your end goal. So what is it that you want out of your personal brand?
Yeah.
For example, I'm an entrepreneur, so I use my personal brand to position myself as someone that's really knowledgeable, that's an expert in what I do, which then leads me or attracts people towards me that might want to work with me, might want to book me for speaking engagements, might want to have me on as a podcast guest. And
it's working.
Exactly, thank you. That's how you be intentional about it and strategic about it, basically. Is what is your end goal? What do you want your personal brand to do for you? Because you obviously want to get the most out of that time that you
100%.
put into it.
A lot of young people who recently graduated, we've been so used to the whole education dictating our personality and our identity. So it's once we graduate, it's how do we actually find what we want, and how do we actually create that personal brand, because we don't know what we want. So what type of advice would you give to someone who doesn't really know where to go with this?
The first thing that I remind people is that your personal brand reflects who you are right now, and it doesn't have to be you have to come up with this thing that you want to be known for forever. Exactly. And when I came out of university, my degree wasn't in marketing, and I wanted to go into marketing, and so I had to figure out the ways to position myself and get that experience when I didn't have experience. And actually, personal branding is kind of a shortcut to that, because it's showing people you know what you're talking about. You clearly care about the industry or the job that you're going to go into.
How did you decide to go and niche down into marketing? Was that something that you were just interested in?
Yeah, I actually kind of stumbled into marketing. So I went to uni for film studies and German. Very different to marketing.
Okay, it's been so good.
Okay.
And then German GCSE.
Okay, that's good actually. You can't remember, because I literally had to relearn the language basically when I went to uni. So you're much better than me. So I kind of essentially towards the end of second year, and when you do a language at university, you have to go and do a year abroad. So my degree was 4 years. And towards the end of second year and going into my year abroad, I was I don't have any work experience and I wanted to go into languages when I graduated. So I was like, let me just see what's out there in terms of like internships or work experience or anything like that. Couldn't really find anything that was related to languages, but something that kept coming up was marketing.
Oh, okay.
And as I looked more into marketing and the kinds of things that you would do when you work in a marketing job, I realised, I sort of thought maybe this could work for me. So I was able to get a couple internships in marketing, and that allowed me to kind of trial it and see if I wanted to do that.
But there's like quite a few people who are like me. I don't know how to stick to one thing. Like every other week, I'm jumping into something else. Like, ask my friends, always like, T, just sit down. Like, why would you do this? Like, I went to like a data workshop like yesterday, and I was like, yeah, I want to do data analytics now. Like, calm down. I don't want to. But it's like, what advice would you give to people who are maybe like generalists or like kind of multifaceted, when with like building a personal brand, you kind of have to niche yourself down? Is there a way to like do both, or is it better to just like focus on one thing at a time?
Again, I think it depends on what you want out of your personal brand and what you want people to see you as. Your niche can be that you are a generalist. Your niche can be that, you are constantly trying new things out and sharing that with people. Like, I think what people don't understand is that what seems boring or maybe not that exciting to you is really interesting to someone else.
Yeah, that's true.
And so, I think if you are someone that's like, I went to this event and this is what I learned about data analytics, that is a point of connection with someone else.
Yeah.
And that's something that you can connect with people over. And actually, I think the most interesting people are the ones that have knowledge in lots of different areas and can really have like very unique conversations with. So I don't think it's you can go the very like niched route, or you can go the also very general route. And the way that I think about it is you have a main topic, as I said, that you want to be quote unquote known for, but this could be that you are a generalist and you like to try out new things all the time. And then you have sort of subtopics or like supporting topics that give variety and flexibility to what it is that you put out there. So for example, my main topic is obviously marketing and personal branding, but my subtopics are like entrepreneurship and psychology and books I'm reading. And like I love because I mostly work from home, so I love to go to co-working cafes and I'll take some content and I'm at the cafe and I'll review them, and that's my way of still bringing it back to like me as a business owner, but it's not so rigid in that it's like
only one thing.
Exactly, it always has to link back to marketing and personal branding. And
there was one thing that I saw, it was like the influencer game and the business growth game. I think it was one of your posts. So like, what is that and how should people like know which pathway to go to?
So the influencer game and the business growth game was an idea that I came up with to help people understand what content to make. What content to make based on the goals that you have for your content. And so the influencer game is essentially, why do influencers post the content that they do? And what kind of content do they post because of the goals that they have? So if you're an influencer, you want to get
deals and stuff,
brand deals, sponsorships, collaborations. How do you get that? You focus on content that brings in views, that brings in likes, that brings in followers. Those are called vanity metrics in the marketing world, and it's essentially what you can see on someone's profile, right? Like their followers, their likes, their shares, whatever it might be. If you're a business owner, you are not necessarily playing that influencer game of trying to get as many eyeballs on your content as possible. Because you as a business owner really only want the eyeballs of people that are going to purchase from you. And so it's a mindset shift of how do you approach content creation as a business owner or as an influencer, and say, okay, if I'm a business owner and I need to create content for my business, or I want to create content for my business, it's very easy to slip into that influencer mindset because of the dopamine of like the likes and the followers and stuff. But moving away from that, what do you have other than likes and followers? You haven't made any sales.
I was buying anything.
So, and if no one knows who you are and no one knows like why they should buy from you, which also lends itself to the personal brand idea, then you're just creating content and for what?
No
for
reason.
free.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So like, how would you say an influencer should like build their own personal brand compared to like a founder or business owner?
Yeah. I actually think there's quite a lot of overlap because just as much as, because essentially when the main difference is if you're an influencer, you're selling your audience. If you're a business owner, you're selling your product or service.
Okay.
And so the thing that underpins it is just the selling. And so a personal brand, another way of thinking about it is instead of marketing your business, it's just marketing yourself.
Yeah. Okay.
And so again, a lot of the same ideas and principles from marketing can come into building a personal brand, both as a business owner and as an influencer. And so I would say there's not too much differentiation. But when it comes, I guess the overlaps that you can think about is why you?
Yeah.
Why should someone pay attention to you? What are the things that you connect with your audience over? Likes, dislikes, products, whatever it might be, places to go visit, whatever it is that you talk about. And who do you want to be in your audience? Who do you need to be in, those eyeballs that we were just talking about, that can actually then help you achieve those goals? So if you're an influencer, who do you need to be in your audience that will, make the most sense to partner with a certain business or brand deal? And as a business owner, who do you need to be in your audience that will help you open those doors for opportunities?
Or buy stuff and stuff like that.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. So in terms of like marketing or stuff, or like marketing in general, what would you say is the best way for someone to market themselves as like a person? Because it's quite hard to market me because like I don't know, like I'm not a product.
Yeah.
So how should I go about like trying to make people buy into me as a person?
Great question. So I think the first thing is to, again, think about, so maybe this might be a good time to go through like the framework of actually building a personal brand and how you might want to market yourself. So I have this 2-step process, and in this 2-step process there's kind of 3 questions to answer. So the first step is to get clarity. So
it's been a recurring theme.
Clarity. What is your end goal? Do you want to get a job?
Yeah.
Basically. Do you want to gain leverage in your job that you have now so that you can negotiate for better opportunities? Do you want to attract people that might be potential clients for your business? Those are very general goals, and it might just be that you want to just connect with people that have the same likes and interests as you and build like a like-minded community. But again, in order to get the most out of the time that you put into it, it's important to think about what is your end goal. The second thing is, what unique perspectives or thoughts can I bring to the conversations? And I think this is also where it's really interesting if you're starting from the beginning, because you don't know everything yet.
Yeah,
and
nothing.
Exactly. And so you can share the things that you've learned and can share, interesting facts and things that you
have just on your journey.
Exactly. And share with people. And the third thing is, again, who do you want to attract? Like, who do you want to be in your audience? And the way that I define the audience is just those people that are going to open those doors for you and who are going to help take your personal brand or whatever it is that you're doing to the next level. And step 2 is the visibility. So again, making sure that the right people know about you, because if people don't know who you are, then you can't achieve any of the things that we just talked about. So the first question here is, where do those people hang out? Where do they spend their time? I've mentioned LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, but it might be networking events, it might be conferences, it might be going to an industry event of some sort. You don't necessarily have to be visible online, but if you want to get the most out of your time, creating content is the best thing, because you can reach more people. Yeah.
And just touching up on like going to like events, network and stuff, like do you also feel like having an in-person personal brand is like important, because I feel like a lot of people overlook that. They just focus on like social media and like making sure, I post on TikTok, I post on Instagram, but they're hidden in their house and they don't go outside and meet people. So it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, how important would you say that is?
I think at some point you will have to be in person at some, and go outside. I'm sorry to say, just because, and like, I don't think you can really have a beneficial personal brand without having that visibility in some way. And so, as much as you can do online, and it is the best for reaching the widest group of people as possible, those connections aren't really solidified until you meet in person and until you have those conversations with people, until you get to know people a little bit deeper. Like when we first met, we both walked to the train station together and we had like a little conversation. I don't know if you would have asked me to be on your podcast if we didn't have that.
Yeah, that's true, actually.
And so
that's so true.
And it's kind of, it works, they complement each other, because we met in person, we didn't know each other before, we weren't connected before we met. And then we had that nice conversation.
Yeah, exactly. And then from there,
exchanged details. And then you looked at my content and saw...
Oh, that's even personal brand working, because I checked your LinkedIn and I was like, oh my god, you do talks, like, you do podcasts, you're doing personal branding, would you speak with me? So, like, that actually shows how important having a personal brand is, because if you didn't have a LinkedIn presence, I would have just connected with you. Like, there would have been no discussion or no chit-chat right now. And now, to the next question... it's like a lot of people struggle to be authentic without being cringe on like social media while trying to build their personal brands. So it's like, how do you make sure you're actually being yourself and not just like, ugh, like, because like when I started like my clothing brand a few years back, like I was trying to like be on TikTok and do the whole social media thing, but the videos I was making, I honestly used to just cringe myself out, like, this is disgusting. So how do I make sure like I'm not thinking that, but I'm also reaching the correct audience and I'm actually posting content as I should be as well?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I don't think you can get over the cringe until you do it enough times and then you see the impact that you're having. The best way to take the emotion out of it and to take the cringe out of it is to think of 1 to 3 words that you want to just judge your content on, or judge the way that you come across on. So, for example, in this podcast episode, the only thing that I'm going to judge myself on is how am I giving actions? Am I helping people take action? In my content, it's the same thing. I want people to take action when they see my content, or for them to be, for them to think of personal branding differently, or to see that, this thing is important to the success of their career, their life, their business, whatever it is. And so taking the emotion out of it of like, oh, I don't like the way that I looked here, or I don't like the way that I sounded there, or what you were just saying then of cringe, taking that away and thinking, okay, was I actionable? Did I help someone here? Was I being genuine? These sorts of ideas then helps you like stop feeling so like, cringe and actually thinking, okay, if I can just help someone else or entertain someone else or make them laugh, make them smile, make them think differently on the receiving end of my content or whatever it is I'm putting out there, have I succeeded?
Okay, that's a good way to look at it, actually. I might start using that instead of thinking, oh my god, I appreciate that. But and another thing is like, now there's quite a lot of people who are posting content, doing social media, building their personal brands. So how can like someone stand out and actually like differentiate from the crowds and actually have people look at them and think, okay, wow, like this person's actually doing X, Y, Z, because there's just so many people doing it now.
Yeah, well, I think that it's 2 things. The first thing is, can you add something different to the conversations that are already being had? So do you have an interesting perspective? Do you have an interesting opinion? Do you have something different to say? And I think people forget as well that your experiences, the way that you've lived life, the way that you've grown up, the cultural influences that you have growing up. All of these things shape the way that you see the world.
Yeah, that's true.
And so the way that I see something, it's not the same way that you're going to see something, because we've grown up in completely different ways, in completely different households.
Yeah, completely different experiences.
Exactly. Exactly. And so understanding, okay, what can I bring to the table? How can I bring in what I know very well? And then contextualize it in this conversation. So that's the first thing. And the second thing, I guess, is kind of along the same lines of like, what is unique about me? What is unique about the way that I think and the perspectives that I have on life?
Yeah.
And again, can I bring that into the conversation, and can I help people see things in a different way? And I think that's how you stand out, really. Okay. It can be as well through the unique perspectives that you have, you also come up with unique ideas and like unique ways of doing things. Probably if I had to sum it up, it would be those three things of the unique perspectives that you have, the value you can bring to the conversation, and then like, again, how can you connect with people over it?
Okay, cool. Let's say someone's listening now, so they know the importance of building a personal brand. It's because take control of your own narrative. Don't let how others like view you be how everyone else sees you. So they said, yeah, okay, cool, I know why. And they said, yeah, okay, cool, in terms of personal brand, whether it's corporate, founder, or just like a personal venture, I've decided, yeah, I've got the 2-step framework, and I know I need to like, create value and build connections and like have a unique perspective of things. What type of social media platforms do you think is beneficial?
The audience is everywhere. So that's the first thing. You want to be where your audience is the most, because again, that's how you're going to get the most out of your personal brand. But your audience is everywhere. I think, I don't know the exact stat at the top of my head, but it's like this 50% of people that use LinkedIn also use TikTok or something like that. So it's like, it doesn't really matter what platform you post on or what platform you use. The only thing I would say is, if you're not used to creating content yet, or if you're not used to kind of putting yourself out there, go with the platform that you feels most comfortable for you, and also that you enjoy creating content for the most. So I don't want to generalize too much, because as I said, your audience is everywhere, but like LinkedIn is still a very like text heavy platform. So if you are more comfortable with writing than speaking to a camera, LinkedIn might be better for you. If you are naturally a yapper and you prefer to sit down in front of a camera and just talk at it, TikTok or YouTube might be better for you. And so it's the best thing that you can do is to be consistent, and you be consistent by choosing a platform and a format that you feel is the most comfortable. Exactly.
And in terms of like social media platforms, how should people kind of like tailor their content to match the platform? Because the same thing you post on LinkedIn, I don't think you post that on TikTok. No one's gonna buy into that, because it's very much like short form content. Attention span is terrible nowadays. So how can you like translate the content that you typically post on like maybe LinkedIn and then do it in a way that benefits TikTok, for instance?
Well, I would challenge you on that, because
really? Okay, go on.
I don't think there's anything. So I don't think the content needs to be changed.
Do you think so?
I don't think so, because as long as it's not boring, people will find something interesting about it. And again, this is where we need to take into consideration the influencer game or the business growth game, or maybe the personal branding game, because the influencer game will tell you that you need to focus on optimizing the content for the platform, whatever that means. You can post like 60-minute TikToks. So it's not that the platform itself, like the constraints of the platform itself, force you to create short form content. There's like we know about Who the Fuck Did I Marry?
Oh yeah.
Risa Tisa. Yes, but I always mention her because she posted like 60 10-minute long TikToks. Had the people on the edge of their seats, like waiting for the next episode. So it's never that it's too long, it's just too boring.
Okay.
Or it's never too short, it's just too boring.
But it's like, at the same time, it's like, your audience is different on different platforms, I'd assume. Like with LinkedIn, it's very much like corporate founders, very like serious people. And then with TikTok, it seems a bit more lighthearted. So it's like...
Are you on LinkedIn?
Yeah.
Are you a serious person?
I post more serious content.
But if you saw unserious content on LinkedIn, would you hate that?
Of course not. Okay, that's true. I have to think about that. But it's like, it feels so much more strict.
It does because of the ways that the platforms, I guess, originated. But like Risa Tisa's Who the Fuck Did I Marry? That was very serious content. That was talking about very serious things. The only thing maybe you want to consider is like, if it's a more personal account, as in like on TikTok you share more personal things, and then on LinkedIn maybe you share more business stuff. But even then I would say like having the two together works quite well as well, because again you're just bringing people with you, you're finding those connection points. Like on my business Instagram today, I was talking about how I was trying to get Kendrick and SZA tickets. I did get them, by the way.
Oh my God,
I did.
I'm jealous.
Yeah. So it's like, why would I share that? Because
true,
then that's
actually.
something that I can connect with people over.
And just going back to the Who the Fuck Did I Marry? I feel like that one has to do with like storytelling.
Yes.
Like you have to be an amazing storyteller. Like, but the thing is, a lot of people don't really understand the importance of storytelling and what it actually is. So could you like break that down a bit?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Storytelling is one of my favorite things about creating content, because it's, no matter what, it's engaging for everyone.
Yeah.
It's engaging, you know, no matter what platform. It's a thing that I think can really transcend any audience, any sort of platform, anything that you're trying to do. So I think the importance of storytelling is really, really underrated. And needed more of, actually, because, you know, storytelling is what kind of human communication is. And so the better you can get at storytelling, the more, again, it opens opportunities for you to use your voice in ways that can not just give back to you monetarily, but also give back to other people as well.
Do you have like any tips for people to like improve their storytelling?
Yeah. When it comes to storytelling, especially for content, for example, everyone always talks about the hook.
Yeah. I see that every time. I'm just going on TikTok. You need a better hook. I'm like, okay, guys.
Stop shouting at me.
Literally.
But all the hook is, and also with content like that, they will tell you to use certain hooks, but a hook is just something you say or something you do or something you put on the screen that gets someone to stop long enough to see if they are interested in watching the rest of your video, for example. So it can be something like, I saw an ad the other day that was like, are you between the ages of 18 and 25, have been wearing glasses for longer than 5 years and are like British or something? It's like, yeah, I guess I fit that criteria. I'm actually not 25 anymore. Yeah. It was like, that was a hook for me, because it was like, oh,
are you talking to me?
Are you talking to me? Like, that is my exact experience. But, you know, another hook can be like, you need a better hook.
Yeah.
Or you're doing X, Y, and Z wrong. And that, because we want to know why, or we're intrigued why you want to know more about this, that's what makes you stop.
Yeah.
And so the hook, people focus a lot on the hook because it is the thing that gets people to stop and, you know, sort of bring their attention to you. But the rest of it still needs to be good. So I think the best way to think about hooks is just, can you add in something that will make them think, okay, either she's speaking to me, or, oh, this is something that I'm struggling with, what can I do to fix that? Then you want to bring in the drama. So again, to really capture their attention, the best storytelling is not, I did this and then I did that and then I did this and then this dramatic thing happened. You start from the beginning, you start from the conflict and then you work backwards.
Yeah.
Like, you want to avoid and then as much as possible, and so you've got their attention, keep their attention with like something that will raise the stakes, something that's like quite the dramatic part of the story. And then the actions you took to get to that point. but again, not in a way of like listing it, but just being like, just saying the ending. Really, when it comes to, again, storytelling online, is what kind of action can they take, or what is something that they can learn, like what's the moral of the story. So for example, if you're telling a story about your business, the ending might be, you know, if you want the same results,
buy this,
then get in touch, contact links in my bio, whatever. Or if it's you know, about your personal brand, it might be, have you experienced this as well? Let me know in the comments. Like, it doesn't have to be to sell or to like make people buy from you, but it could get them to think and reflect on the thing that you just said. So yeah, it's kind of like backwards in a way when it comes to engaging storytelling, but yeah, start from the conflict basically and then work your way backwards.
Oh, that makes sense, because like I need to improve my storytelling like on my TikTok and stuff. Like, I'm too much of an and then person. And now, like, in terms of like content, let's say whoever's listening, they now have their personal, like, they know what they want their personal brand to be. They've kind of like followed the frameworks. They know what type of like value they want to add, the type of content that not the type of content that they want to make. That's the thing. They don't know what type of content that they want to make. And that was the whole lot of words just mumbled together. But yeah, they don't know the type of content that they want to make. So how should they kind of like figure that out?
Yeah. Well, I think the easiest way is to look at what other people are doing, and maybe find 3 people max whose content you really enjoy and whose content you find really inspiring. And the reason why I say find 3 people only is because doom scrolling is a thing. And you can spend so much time scrolling, looking for inspiration, when if you just had 3 people that you're like, every single time I watch their content, I'm either inspired to try something new, or I'm inspired to tell, you know, what I was going to talk about in a different way, or, you know, I was going to edit in a different way because of them. That helps you come up with your own ideas, as opposed to you're bombarded with all of these ideas from other people.
It gets overwhelming.
And it gets overwhelming, exactly. So I would say find, you know, 3 people whose content you enjoy, and who, again, it doesn't even have to be like the visual side of things. It could be the way that they talk about the lessons they've learned, or whatever it is that they're talking about. And there's also tactical things like there's this website called Ask the Public, which is kind of like a Google like Googling but on 100. So it's like,
really?
Yeah, you put in like, maybe you put in personal branding, and it will come up with like, can personal branding help me find a job, or who is personal branding beneficial for? And then all of it sort of comes, it's like framed as questions, and then you can use these questions to think of ideas that you might want to create content for. So that's something tactical. If you didn't want to use that, literally just Googling like personal brand, and then, you know, when you like scroll down, you can see it's like things that people also search for, and then if you like click on those enough times, it comes up with more options. So that's also another way of doing it.
So cool. This person now, they figured out their personal brand, they know the type of content. How do you go about monetizing your personal brand?
So when it comes to monetizing your personal brand, it's usually through some sort of speaking engagement. So for me, for example, it's been through workshop delivery. That's what I particularly enjoy, and that's typically what I'll work with people on. It could be workshops, it could be speaking engagements, it could be, you know, going on some sort of like recording or like a documentary or something. But I think what's also really interesting about personal branding is it goes back to the idea of you don't know who's watching. So I know people who have been asked to like speak on a documentary, for example, or, you know, be featured in some way on like TV. It could be presenting you know, an award show or something like that.
Yeah, like even the event I went to yesterday, the one was like, a recruiter reached out to her, said, yeah, like, we'd love to hire you. They went out for coffee and she got the job. And so it's like, you can literally find opportunities through it.
Exactly.
So she's obviously getting a salary. So yeah, she's monetized it, essentially.
Exactly. And I get, that's a really good point that you mentioned there of, again, what is your end goal? Because what I had just mentioned was mainly from like I guess a business owner perspective, but those are like the avenues that you can open in terms of like the speaking engagements and potentially like getting brand deals as well. If you talk about something in a certain way,
doing fashion and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Like, in short, how would you say someone should like get started, like in terms of like building a personal brand, just to wrap it all up?
Yeah, I think the first thing and the thing that underpins everything is just what is your goal?
Yeah.
What do you want to get out of it? Because that will dictate the audience that you want to build, or the community that you want to build, the network you want to build, the kind of content that you want to make, how you want to make it, what you want to be known for, how you want to help other people, what like-minded community do you want to create around you and what you like and what your personality is. So figure out your end goal, I'd say, first time. Like, what is the first thing that you can do to help you on that journey? So I'm not saying today you're scared shitless of posting on LinkedIn and in an hour we need to get your first post out. But just get comfortable with LinkedIn first of all. If you want to start posting on LinkedIn, let's just say this hypothetical situation, get comfortable with LinkedIn first. See how people interact on there. Maybe leave a comment on someone's post. Maybe then send a DM to someone. Maybe then you send a DM to someone else and you say, can we get on a call because I love the content that you make and I want to start posting on LinkedIn as well.
Oh, that's good.
And so it doesn't have to be you go from 0 to 100, but what is the first like little step that you can take that will eventually lead to more little steps, and then when you take lots of little steps they turn into big steps and big process. Exactly. So,
and just to wrap up, I'd like to end with one quote which I heard from Stephen Bartlett at a show, and it was basically, the cost of embarrassment will cost you your life. So make sure to define what you want your personal brand to be and start posting the content, because at the end of the day no one's going to beat you up. So thank you so much for listening to today's episode with Beth. If you liked what you heard, make sure to like and subscribe, and our social media platforms will be in the bio. And if you're interested in any workshops or any like talks, make sure to hit up Beth at Orchid Marketing on Instagram and LinkedIn. Yeah, perfect. Thank you.